Good morning, my name is Jasmine and I'm an illustrator, and today we're gonna do something a little bit different that I haven't done before, which is a weekly vlog. I'm just gonna do my best to make it spicy enough and we'll see how that goes. But first, coffee. So I'm actually developing a medieval comic or novel, not entirely sure which one or both, but it's definitely going to be a story set in medieval France. With that, I've had to do a ton of historical research. I've already completed a pretty good outline, so now it's just a matter of writing it. Yeah. July is gonna be another NaNoWriMo where you set a goal to write 30,000 words that month, so I'm gonna push myself to focus on writing my medieval story in July. Before July, I need to have a tighter outline and finish enough of historical research that I needed to do. I'm also reading a ton of novels so that I can get more of the literary vibes of things, the styles, writing dialogue, and all that stuff. My friend got me this book. It's set in super early medieval England. Not entirely similar to what I'm writing, but it's still historical fiction. We're both reading it right now, and it'll be interesting to see what we both think about this novel. I'm about to finish chapter 2, and so far it's just been the main character as a child, so it just mostly feels like backstory. So haven't really gotten to much action yet. It's going a lot slower than I would like it to be. I have a ton of books to read, so the fact that this is going a little slower than I'd like to is not good. Not good. So I just finished reading a scene where the queen has another miscarriage. One of the last sentences in that scene is, "And if somebody didn't take away the cup soon, someone else might work out what had happened." So something fishy is happening, and it might involve the main character's mom doing some kind of poisoning on the queen. I couldn't figure out what was going on in that scene, so I texted my friend and I'm like, what is this? What's up with the cup? And even she was like, I'm not sure, but then remember that the main character smelled the cup at the beginning of the scene, and I was like, oh, OMFG bro, the audacity. And she replies, for real. So chapter 3, already going into some really sketchy stuff with poisonings. Kitty. Meow meow. Well, I have logged off of work, which means I need to switch gears and work on... What do I work on these days? It usually takes me like half an hour to figure out what the heck that is, because lately I've just been either reading novels, reading historical research, writing either a short story that I'm working on, or writing the development of my medieval story. And last but not least, working on drawing Space Warriors. So because July's NaNoWriMo is gonna come, I'm really gonna have to put Space Warriors in the back burner for that month to devote my time writing Girl Night again. I guess that leaves Space Warriors off the table. Since July is just around the corner, it's probably time that I update that calendar to reflect what my goals are for next month. Let's first start with erasing that board, pulling out the agenda, and figuring that out. I'm erasing these to-do lists. It's not really that I didn't accomplish them, I just didn't bother filling in the parts that I did do, so I hope you don't judge me. Alright, I got my calendar, I got my agenda. According to another writing craft book that I had to read, one second, from this book, according to her, she makes sure that every scene in your story is put into this grid here. What this grid helps you in figuring out is whether your scene is needed in the story, because a lot of times we'll add scenes that really don't move the story along. And the kind of story that I'm writing, which is commercial, you have to make sure that your plot is continuously moving along. And any parts in a story that have no real purpose, you can lose your reader, and ultimately they might not return to continue your story. This is very helpful. One way that writers break down every scene is by putting them in note cards. So what they'll do, for example, I started doing this with Girl Night. Write out the main thing that happens in the scene and then draw out that same grid and fill it in. I mean, I started doing it, but I kind of stopped after the 5th scene, and it's not because I don't have the scenes, it's just this physical card stuff. My brain is too visual to kind of handle all this physical stuff. So instead, as I was doing the cards, I realized that I kind of was already doing scene cards, but as a digital format. And let me just show you where I've been writing them. So this is Notion, the app that I'm obsessed with right now to dump all of my ideas regarding one single story, and it's a really good tool to organize all of your ideas. You can put a timeline, you can have sub-pages, you can have a grid where you can assign tags into your pages and then look them up. It's kind of like a Wikipedia for your own subjects. So what my scene cards in the Notion app look like are these. And what's cool with Notion, and this is the part that I really needed, I need to shuffle around the scenes so that I can figure out where they belong in terms of order of events, because sometimes you kind of want to switch them around to see like if the cause and effect really makes sense. So look at that, I can move them around. I already have a scene breakdown, and when you click on at least one of the scenes, you're already in a page where you can write all of that information from the grid onto this. I was all excited about using these really cute, adorable, color-coded note cards, but I just don't need them. If anything, they just take more time, and July 1st is in 3 days. I don't have time to write all this information that I already have here. Why am I even talking about this? Oh, right, so I need to finish kind of justifying all of the scenes that I have listed out, and also fleshing out some events in the story that I haven't really figured out the sequence of itty-bitty scenes. So it's more like the details. I need to flesh out the details before jumping into the writing. And that is a lesson I learned in last year's NaNoWriMo. I have tried to write this story through NaNoWriMo twice now, so it's been 2 years worth of trying to write this story out without much planning, and I have not been very successful. I discover new things that need to be solved, and it just puts these breaks in my momentum in the writing, and that's how I realized that I'm a planner, you guys. I can't pants for crap. I need to know exactly where I'm going before I can actually sit down and fully write this goddamn story. So I am very close. I'm really nervous about how to really break down these bigger events into the itty-bitty scenes. So I will admit, I'm a little bit nervous. We got our list of to-dos. Now for my short story, I'm actually almost done writing it. Only thing left to write is the last 2 scenes, and I have to rewrite the main character. I realize I'm kind of confused on what she is. Like in some scenes, she's really shy, and then in other scenes, she's cursing and being really outspoken. I need to figure out just what exactly she is. I can't make up my mind yet. Earlier today, I renewed my gym membership for the first time in over a year. Because of the pandemic, my gym had to close. now that everything's open again, I'm gonna have to go. I'm really out of shape, so definitely have to go to the gym. There's a 7 o'clock class tonight. That means I only have an hour before the class. After going through all the stuff that I need to do for girl night, I'm kind of panicking that I should probably try to hit more of those research books because I still have quite a few books to read through. The first book I'm going to look at is this book. I got this not too long ago, so it's a pretty new book for me. It is a very good reference for itty bitty details about the medieval world that I could probably pull out and use. I've only read this much, so it's not a lot. And from what I have read, it's very England focused. It's not super useful for my story because my story is based in France, so there are some key differences, like what sports were played, what festivals were celebrated. Yes, they were both Christian, but there were still differences in how they celebrated Christmas or Easter. Those festivities are kind of important in girl night, maybe. I don't know yet. You see what I mean? What kind of scenes I want to add in? Like, I know what needs to happen, I just don't know what context to put them in. Like an Easter feast? I don't know. I'm blabbing on. Oh, I also forgot to mention that if I do find something in any of my research books that I could use for my girl night story, I make sure to use tabs. For example, tabs like these. This one I didn't find that many direct things that I could pull from, but it was still very helpful. One book that I know I tabbed the crap out of it is this one. Look at that. This is an amazing book. I'm obsessed with it, and I wish it weren't so goddamn short because it has been very useful. It's such a good book. And it's exactly about what I'm writing about, which is about soldiers in the medieval French countryside and the kind of chaos they wreaked on the peasant population during times of peace. Like, standing armies are not things you want around when they got nothing to fight against. So, let's get to reading. Here's an example of how this book could be really useful as a quick reference for anyone writing about English medieval period, because this table lists the social hierarchy of the time, or at least the most common social hierarchy, like the dukes, the barons, esquires, and gentlemen, which are terms we don't really hear too much. I mean, it's great and all, but again, it's not French, so I can't use this information directly and apply it into my story, but it's still interesting, and if I do ever decide on making another medieval story in England this time, then I have this resource. But don't get me wrong, this is still fascinating, and I'm nerding out over it. And will you look at that? We have a breakdown of clergy hierarchy. Well, not really the hierarchy, but types of clergy. Like, pretty direct information. This is so useful, especially the monks, the types of monks. Like, this makes it so much more clear that I'm definitely going to tab this page. Very, very useful. Boom. Whew. Well, I'm back from the gym. That was... I recognized the teacher from that class from like a year and a half ago, and I knew I was in trouble. So yes, I'm definitely gonna feel that tomorrow. Before I jump in the shower, one thing I did want to mention, on my way to the gym, I was thinking about girl night, and I'm still trying to gauge the main character's personality. Just like with the short story, mostly because it has to match with the love interest's personality. Not in the sense that they have to be similar, but more like they have to foil together, if that makes sense. Also, in my 2021 update, when I was talking about how I was struggling with the main character being bland, or I wasn't sure what her personality was, and I realized that when I was writing dialogue for the first time. It's gotten better, it really has. I just don't know the range of her personality and how far it goes, because I have been thinking about her psychological state, as mentioned in that video. So I do know and understand that trauma does play into her personality, especially at the beginning. So that's taken care of. I figured that out on my way to the gym, and I feel pretty good about that, because that means that the beginning scenes are pretty clear as to her agency and all that, and how outgoing she is. Spoiler alert, she's not very outgoing. So pretty good. I feel like crap. Let's take a shower.